Alright, Mr. Barker, you freaking weeb. What are you making us do this time?
I'm so glad you asked.
So obviously things are gonna look a little bit different. Coronavirus made it pretty hard for us to meet in a group and play normal band music. So instead, we're doing band karate. I swear if he makes us learn karate. Well. No, not learning karate, but we are using the belt system. So here's how it's gonna work. The band karate belt system is going to take karate belts and make it work for band. You'll see down here we have all of these different colors of belts. Now, just like when you first start learning a martial art, you're going to start by earning your white belt. Everybody has to start at the white belt. It may be too easy for you, so you can just breeze through it, and that's totally fine, but everybody's gonna start at the white belt. So, we're gonna go down here and click on white belt. You'll find so many videos of me. I bet you're so excited about it. And it's me explaining all sorts of concepts that are really important for you to know as a musician. And you'll notice that it's divided into 4 sections. The first section is mind. This is concerning like music theory and ear training. So any skills that require you to dig into your understanding of rhythm or harmony or use your ears, that's going to be part of the mind category. Next, we have the body category. This has to do with technique on your instrument. So you'll see that in the white belt, we talk about posture, we talk about articulation, and we talk about practice structure. Then we move to the heart section. This has to do with expression and musicality. So you'll see that we start very simple with some dynamics, and then we also kind of reach out and look to recordings of professionals. Later down the line, we'll be looking for different kinds of recordings, but to start, we look for people who play our instrument. Then finally is the soul section, and soul is all about digging into the very bones of music to discover what it really means. So this will usually mean we're learning about the history of music, or we're learning how to compose in a certain style. We're learning about different structures and different methods that are used to create music. With every single belt, we're taking these 4 sections and learning about the things that make us stronger musicians. You'll notice that with some videos, there's additional practice resources, and those practice resources are opportunities for you to practice the skill that the video was talking about, and I'll provide as many of these as I possibly can. Unfortunately, in most cases, just watching the videos alone is not going to be enough practice for you to be ready to test for your next belt. Okay, so I get it. We go to our belt, we watch the videos, we practice the skills, and then what? Well, you have 2 options. Your first option is to test for the belt. If you feel like you have gotten the skills that you need, you feel like you've really mastered what you need to master in order to move on and work on some other skills, you're going to want to scroll to the bottom of the page where you'll find the opportunity to test for your belt. You'll want to click on that button, and it'll take you to 3 things. The first of those is your written test. So when you click on this button that says written test, it'll take you to a Google form that you need to fill out. And it asks you all sorts of questions about what you've learned during your study for this belt. The second part is a performance excerpt that you have to play on your instrument. And it'll take you to a PDF where you can scroll and find your instrument. I highly recommend that as soon as you get to a new belt, or as soon as you start studying for your belt, you go to these practice excerpts and print them out and be practicing them as you're learning, so that you don't get to the end and then you have to practice your scales and arpeggios and your performance excerpt. It's also really important for you to understand that you want to play these performance excerpts perfectly. You'll notice that on the white belt, there's dynamics written. They're very simple, but if you don't do the dynamics correctly, you won't pass the performance excerpt. And finally is the composition portion. If you click on this button, it'll take you to a document that gives you guidelines for a piece that I would like you to write. Everyone is very clear about exactly what I want. At the very beginning, I make the instructions very specific, and they get a little looser as we go later in the belts. But I wanted to provide a lot of structure toward the beginning so that you guys know exactly what you're doing. Make sure that you fill in every one of these requirements in your composition. and then send me your composition when you're done. Once you've completed all 3 portions, you're going to want to go to Google Classroom, go to Classwork, and find the test that you just took. This is where you'll submit your recording of your performance excerpt. You'll notice that before you submit your white belt test, you'll want to have completed the written test, as well as written and shared your composition with me. Because once you hit submit, I'm going to be going and checking that you've completed all 3. In order to pass the test for your next belt, you must score at least an 85% overall, and every section has to be above an 80%. If any section is scored lower than an 80%, you will not pass the belt test. Also, if you don't pass your belt test, you have to wait a full week before you're allowed to test for it again. If you don't feel like you're ready to test for your belt by the end of the week, then you'll need to complete a weekly reflection activity. This can be found on the original page where all the belts are listed, and it's right underneath this video. You can click on the link and it'll take you to a document that will ask you some questions about your week. What have you been working on this week? What videos did you watch? What did you practice on your instrument? All sorts of questions that are designed to help you let me know what you've been doing throughout the week. If you test for your belt, you do not need to do this reflection. So you are either doing your belt test or you are doing this reflection. One of the perks of passing your belt test is that you get a handy dandy new profile picture that you can update your profile with so that everyone can see what belt you're on. I, for one, think everybody should be proudly displaying their belt. It should be a source of honor and pride. And I worked really hard on them, so use them. If you have any other questions about how this process works, you can go to any belt page, and at the bottom of the page, there's a button that allows you to set up a time with me so that we can talk about how to make this make more sense. So feel free to use that button. Looking forward to seeing how high you guys climb up those belts. I'm excited. See you soon.